Seer Show is a live broadcast of truth seekers and believers, empowering the evolution of consciousness. Rafael and Celeste will dive deeper than the mainstream media while answering the mind's deeper questions and transforming conversations. They will have unique guest speakers who will share knowledge, tools, and techniques to create coherence in our mind, body, and spirit.
Good morning.
And good evening from Australia. Hi.
Yes, we have an amazing show for everybody today.
Yeah.
I am excited. How about you?
Very, very much so, Rafael. Talking about female energy, male energy, and the most of all, energy healing, transformation. And this lady that we've brought on today from Melbourne, Miss Sarah Willoughby, I think she has some very, very interesting things to talk to us about in this episode. It's going to be good.
I'm excited. I think one of the things that we think about is that we all want a change in our lives. We cannot remain the same, can we?
No, we have to keep growing. We have to keep developing. And this is what Sarah offers in so many different of her programs on her websites, but most of all from all her books. So I think today would be a really good idea in presenting all those books. Should we get her on? Should we introduce her?
Absolutely. Yes. Let's go ahead and introduce Sarah.
So Miss Sarah Willoughby, she's a transformation coach, international best-selling author here in Australia, speaker, infertility coach, energy healer, empowering to heal, love yourself, achieve more, and transform your life, talking about mindset, self-love, energy healing, and infertility.
Sarah, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hello, lovely to be here.
Yes. So we have so much to talk about, don't we?
We do.
Sarah, you and I met because we were on someone else's program, right?
Yes.
But when we think about opportunities, right? Every day we have an opportunity to transform, right? If you will. One of the things that Celeste and I always talk about is making a difference in the world. How can we transform our world so that we can share it, so that we can be sustainable and just have a great life?
I think for me, the biggest thing that I've learned is that when we truly connect with who we are, when we know ourselves deeply, we can not only show up for ourselves, but we can show up for the rest of the world, and we can create that ripple effect. We can make a difference in the most insane, crazy ways that we just couldn't previously imagine. But it all starts with doing that inner work and being prepared to look deeply into ourselves and really try to figure out why we're here and what the best version of ourselves looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that Celeste has like 503 questions for you. So Celeste, what's one of the things that you would want to know more about today?
Well, I know, Sarah, you've got some really good books coming up, especially the one that's Infertility Saved My Life. And we'll go to that in a second. But when I was exploring your website, you have so many beautiful also workshops, and people can connect with you for one-on-one counseling. And you wrote, if you are ready to not just thrive, but survive, thrive, not just survive, and achieve more professional, but also personally, and save yourself from burnout. And burnout is happening so much. So I'd love to quickly maybe touch base on how you deal with your clients to overcome burnouts, to really find themselves, to not let that happen. And as you said, to live our lives to our full potential.
I think we burn out when we're not really on the right path, when we are trying to be all things to all people, and we're not waking up every day asking ourselves, how can I serve and what's in my highest purpose? So the work that I do with people is helping them to get really clear about what it is that really sets their heart on fire, and giving them permission often to actually follow that path. And that's been inspired by my own journey of feeling like I should work in the corporate world, because that was the path that I'd taken. I'd spent 6 years studying at university. I spent 10 years working in the corporate world, worked my way up the corporate ladder, got there, felt very disillusioned. But I didn't believe that I could give myself permission to do something different. One, because I was too scared to make that change. And two, I didn't know what it was, because I hadn't done that work of connecting with myself and my own soul to really understand what is going to make a bigger difference. What am I here for and why?
The purpose.
Yes. Yeah. But there's basic things that we can do in terms of trying to help people deal with stress and help them get to a place where they're not at burnout. Everything is kind of burnout prevention. One of the biggest tools that has changed my life and actually saved my life when I was in intensive care is meditation. Just being, not doing. Sitting in a quiet place or connecting with nature. Those two things for me, and the work that I do with my clients in that space is very, very powerful. I take my clients to the beach and we do sessions at the beach, which I love.
Oh my gosh, love the beach.
Yes.
Nothing like the waves hitting, right?
We both ladies are the lucky ones. We live on this beautiful, huge continent which has lots of beautiful beaches.
That's why I have
I'm
to
very
visit.
lucky. You do. You do. You're very, very welcome.
I have more reasons now.
You just mentioned intensive care, and do you allow me to ask that question, because you just mentioned it? Tell us about that, because that really just that keyword just resonated with me. So
what was happening in my life was, like I said, I was working in the corporate world. I felt very overwhelmed, very disillusioned. I didn't feel satisfied, and I didn't know how to leave. So I was very stressed at that point in my career. And at the same time, I went on this crazy journey through secondary infertility, trying to complete my family. And I'd been through a lot of grief and loss and trauma already. And I was told by the doctors that the only way to have another child was to go through IVF. So I naively decided that I would try to take the stress out of the process. I was living in the UK at the time, and go over to Norway to have a holiday as well, while we were trying to, wait to find out that 2-week wait, which is very stressful. So I went over to Norway. I did the IVF cycle, and unfortunately it went disastrously wrong. My ovaries reacted very badly to the hormones, and they overstimulated and then hyperstimulated, which is very rare. And I ended up in intensive care. And that was when I really got a big wake-up call, and I was faced with my own mortality, and I was able to question myself: if I take my last breath, have I lived my best life? Have I faced my fears? Have I really truly lived? And the answer was no. And so I'm very, very grateful for that experience. But I watched my 3-year-old son walk out of the hospital doors with his grandma to return back to the UK. And I didn't know whether I'd ever see him again, because the doctors could only treat the symptoms. They couldn't stop the deterioration. So I was dealing with, an enlarged heart. I'd put on about 20 kilograms of fluid that was leaking into my body. I couldn't breathe. Felt like I was drowning. I was at risk of blood clots. It was pretty hideous, and it became a real mindset battle to be able to get through that. And meditation fundamentally saved my life.
Wow. Think about introspective, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Most people don't get the chance to experience what you did. And some people go, wow, that was terrible. But yet it changed you, didn't it?
It did. It was the biggest gift I could have been given, because had I not gone through that experience, I would have still been living a life that lacked resonance. I would be stuck in the corporate world doing a job that I felt I should be doing, that others expected me to be doing, that I'd spent years studying for, that earned good money, that, the status, the lifestyle, but one that just wasn't filling me up. It just didn't make my heart sing. And I didn't realize at that point that there was something else that would, which is what I do now.
And you just said expectations of others. And is that maybe quite a big sort of brick in that wall that some women have when it comes to finding themselves or fertility, because they've been living a life of what other people expect in general of women?
I think as women, we are very much raised to believe that we need to give to other people before ourselves. And so we're already operating from an empty cup in a lot of spaces in life. You know, we're always giving to other people, and then we put ourselves at the bottom of the to-do list. And from that space, we're not able to give to ourselves or give to other people properly, but we don't really realize. So we end up looking outside of ourselves for the validation that we're not able to give ourselves if we haven't been on that journey to self-love. And so we get validation from other people, and we live up to the expectations that they have for us. And when we go on this journey through infertility, this journey that is supposed to be this natural thing, you know, you're going to have a baby. That's what you've been, you know, often raised from such a young age to believe that you're going to become a mother. And then when that doesn't happen for you, you have to go through this incredible journey of grief and I don't feel enough. And there is so much silence and stigma and shame around that journey that it causes so many women to feel isolated and alone and deal with depression and anxiety and health issues. And it needs to change. And that's my vision and my mission, I believe, this lifetime. And if I hadn't have gone on that crazy journey myself, which was my biggest gift, I wouldn't be able to help other people. I wouldn't be able to sit in this space and understand what that really feels like.
You once said your mission is talking and healing, and I really love the way you said that. Can we go into that?
Yes, interestingly enough, I was always that child at school who was very, very shy. So for me, even putting my hand up in class was something that I never wanted to do. And it's crazy to think that now I'm a speaker and that I feel that this is my mission and my vision for the future. But I also really know that we need to heal, and we need to do that inner work to be able to support others in their healing journey as well. So I feel very lucky to be able to do both of those things, to be able to help people heal through talking and sharing my story, but also help the healing process through energy healing and the work that I do in that space. So I love Reiki. It is such a powerful yet very gentle energy healing. Yeah, very, very gentle, but very, very powerful. And it really fundamentally, along with meditation, Reiki changed my life. And I'd learned it originally to help my son when he was first at school and was diagnosed with dyspraxia and was struggling at school. But yet I knew he was very, very bright. And I wanted to help him to connect with himself and to get still and settle and really achieve his full potential. So, and then I learned how amazing it is and just started sharing it with other people.
That's beautiful.
You've mentioned meditation and quiet space and facing your fears. How does that all come together?
I think we spend a lot of our lives being distracted and looking outside of ourselves. And a lot of us don't know how to just sit and be. We feel that if we're not doing something, we're not achieving anything. But actually, it is in that space of being that we really can co-create our futures. So when we sit in silence, and you can do meditation in a number of different ways, but the way that I'm working on at the moment on a personal level is literally just sitting in silence with no expectation about the session. I'm not doing it to get still and quieten my mind, get answers to any questions. I'm literally just sitting in silence and allowing emotions to come up and then healing those things. Again, with no expectation about when that will happen. It might be in that session. It might be a week. It might be a year. It might be 10 years. But just allowing myself to really sit with self and face myself and my fears and those uncomfortable emotions, because we push them down, we suppress them because they hurt, right? So we don't want to feel them. So we stuff them down, but they will always come up and they will always come back to bite us on the bum at some point. So I always say to people, let's try and do that work now.
Sarah, I teach meditation and I teach Tai Chi and Qigong and all these different things. So, and I like the fact that you brought up the fact that there's different ways to meditate, because there are, right?
Yes.
And, sometimes you have your clients at the beach or in nature. I've done it in the park. I've done it in atriums. I've done it in all different places. For me, I meditate daily. Every day is meditation.
Yes. Yes.
It's not necessarily quieting the mind, but allowing the mind to be it, to be the center, right? To allow the thoughts to come. And I love the fact that you brought that up, because a lot of people think that you have to sit in a lotus position, put your fingers like this, and then you have to and make all these different
Yes.
sounds. And there is something to say about that, because the sounds do help, right? With sometimes people do need to quiet the mind in order for the real thoughts to come out. But you can meditate riding your bike. You can meditate on a horse when you're on a
Yes.
horseback. You can meditate, when you're on a train, when you're driving. But of course, focus on the driving as well.
with your eyes open.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's always a good idea. But you can meditate anywhere. And the beauty of meditation is that introspective, right? To really find that 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 energy, that drive that we all have, because we all have a center of energy in our bodies, right, in our minds, and it's finding that depth that will allow us to find answers, right? Because when we think about all the things that happen in our lives, sometimes we blame other people, but introspect, it's us, right?
Mm,
Yes.
mm.
Yes. We don't like to admit that, do we? But it's very, very true.
Yes.
Is that a big part, Sarah, that a lot of your clients will go, well, this is why I'm not pregnant, or this is why I'm not healthy, or is that a big part of it?
I think so. And it's because when you go on that journey, all you're given is all the medical reasons why you're not pregnant. That's a big part of the journey. It's all the physical stuff. You just need to lose weight. You just need to balance your hormones. You just need to eat the right diet. You need to stop drinking, stop smoking, blah, blah, and all those things absolutely are important. Absolutely. But fundamentally for me, the reason that I wasn't falling pregnant, apart from the physical stuff, was that my mind, body, and spirit was not balanced. So when I basically surrendered and let go of this attachment to this idea of having another child, and I moved to the other side of the world with no job, didn't know anybody, nowhere to live, just literally just was like, I'm going to start a new life. I fell pregnant naturally within 6 weeks. And my daughter is now 12, and 4 years later, I had another little girl. So having been told that I could never go through IVF again because it would kill me, I'd already used up some of my frozen embryos, and unfortunately miscarried them. So all my options had run out, and it was just so empowering, and I felt peaceful for the first time when I just surrendered and I let go. But it is hard. It's really hard to get to that space, and that's the work that I want to do with women, to help them to understand that they've got all the answers inside them. You can be given all the medical advice in the world, but they're not always right. And there's so much that we don't know about the female body still. So if we can set ourselves up to be in the best place possible to welcome a healthy baby into the world, then beyond that, that's all we can do. And the rest is up to what's for our highest good, and, whether it's meant for us.
You were talking about distractions before, and just not letting too much sort of get in your way, and just really centering. And you mentioned it, Rafael, to really just center yourself. And I love a lot of books on Taoism, and Taoism is very about letting things unfold and not pressuring, not putting anything specific in mind, but letting it unfold. And it's a very, very short little part, but I'd love to read this because it really aligns with what you also have in your books. And its possessions may burden a relationship. They distract, delude, and divide instead of creating closeness and intimacy. They create confusion and dissatisfaction instead of peace and joy. Quieten your noisy mind, simplify your busy life, reduce your many distractions so that you and your beloved one might live in deepest joy. And I found that very beautiful because Taoism really teaches that let it unfold. Don't let too many things be distracting you, and then you will find that joy and quietness together.
Absolutely. When I moved over to the other side of the world from the UK, when I moved over to Australia, there was such a liberation in letting go of all the physical possessions that I didn't really need in my life. And when we were waiting for that 6 weeks for our container to arrive, and we'd just taken 4 suitcases and that was it, with the maximum amount of stuff we could take, I was like, what's in my container? I actually don't need anything else. And I was a bit I was a bit disappointed that it actually showed up. I was hoping it was going to get lost at sea so that we could just let it all go and didn't feel guilty about it.
Yeah. I love the fact that you even realize that your worldly possessions is not what make you, right? Because a lot of people get so attached to materialistic things when you're right. We don't need anything. We have it all within us. And, for you to say, I wish you got lost at sea was kind of funny. But when we think about, we accumulate so much. And look at people who are hoarders, right? They take stuff. And when they can't even find most of the stuff that they're looking for, right? And then it's like, have you seen this thing? And you don't even know you have certain things until you maybe bump into them, right? So it's having that journey, if you will, of living a life where things matter. Everything that we have in us is the reality of I matter, you matter. And then how much are we worth? A lot of people don't give themselves worth. So you're dead on by saying, I wish you got lost at sea, because you have everything. Each one of us has everything within us to sustain a great life. Material things help, don't get me wrong. Yeah, who doesn't want to have a nice car, live in a nice home, have the latest iPhone or Android phone or whatever it is? But that's not who we are, is it?
No. Absolutely.
Is it also maybe that the pressure of falling pregnant and having children, is that also a lot got to do with a lot of women think, well, I need to financially first be secure. I need all these material things. I need. And the truth is, I mean, the last time I flew over to Fiji, I met this wonderful lady. She had just given birth at home in the village, and she had her baby just on a pillow. And it was absolutely wonderful to meet someone who was just, I just had my baby in my beautiful village and I'm carrying it on a pillow. And you sort of think, if I would meet my friends here, let's say in Queensland, and go, I need the latest new baby seat that costs thousands of dollars, and I need this and I need this. Is that a bit as well, Sarah, that some women overthink of what they need to have or provide for a child because we've been so manipulated in what children really need?
I think there's an element of that that's true in terms of a lot of women delay having a baby until they feel that they're in a much better financial position. A couple might make that decision to delay that. And then when it doesn't happen for them, it's like, if I'd just known that it was going to take this long, I would have started so many years ago. because there is that biological clock ticking, unfortunately. And I was talking to a lady just this morning, the very same thing. She has had 3 miscarriages. She has watched all her friends around her get pregnant. Her sisters are popping out babies just by looking at each other. And, you know, literally she's just found out that she's got something wrong with her that means that she rejects her husband's DNA. But she had to go through 3 miscarriages first to be able to find that out. They wouldn't even look at her until she'd already had 3 miscarriages. And so she would have just kept having more and more and more.
Wow.
And now they've got to consider, you know, maybe donor sperm or surrogacy, which is huge.
Right.
It's absolutely huge. And she said, I wish that I had known it was going to be this difficult, because I would have started a long time ago. But the cost of all the treatment is huge. The cost of all the investigations is huge. And she said, imagine all those people that can't afford to do this. They can't afford to do it this way. So it's both. But I don't think money is a big driver, but it certainly plays a part in the story around infertility and whether people can afford to go through treatment if that's what they need. It plays out in that way.
Yeah. You know, I'd love to take a minute and just, you know, oh my gosh, I'm the first one born in the hospital out of 12 kids.
Wow.
So well, I have 9 siblings that were born at home. And you know, I am amazed at what you ladies go through in order to even give birth. And then afterwards, you know, all the things that you go through as a woman. And I wish, I'm probably one of the few men who wish that I can give birth, right? Because babies are so beautiful. And my gosh, what an amazing gift you have. And what bothers me is the women who have children and don't realize the gift that they have, and they abuse their children or don't even care. You know, so even though all women have this gift available to them, and some of them don't take advantage and see it as a gift. And to me, that's a shame. Because I'll be honest, if I can have a baby, man, I would do it like right now. I would.
You already have beautiful children.
I do, but you know, it was because of their mom. You know, I had a little bit of part to do in it, but not as big a role as she did.
I have to say and put my hand up that I know within myself that if I had been able to have all of my children very, very easily, my intention had been to go back to have them very close together. I wanted 4 very close together, go back to the corporate world, get on with my life. I wouldn't be the mum that I am today. I wouldn't have prioritized my children in the way that I had if I hadn't have been through that journey. So I'm very grateful for that. But I can understand why other women maybe get lost in motherhood or don't recognize the gift that they've been given, because again, it's something that you've expected to be able to do since you were little. So it's it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, but I can definitely see both sides of that. But obviously when it comes to abusing your children, it's horrible.
And the huge commitment, because now even science, but psychology and Dr. Bruce Lipton always speaks about, the child between 0 and 7. That's sort of the most important years. And so it's also, if you want a child, be committed be committed more than 7 years, please. But in general, okay. Probably 21 or 25 nowadays, depending on the culture. They often live at home for a lot longer.
Yes.
But it is really that, are you willing to be a full-time mother, especially for the first 7 years, for the development of the child?
I think a lot of women too don't know. We don't know what motherhood is going to look like for us. And some women do, and men do, struggle with becoming parents and feeling like they've lost themselves in that journey. I went through that as well. I felt like I had gone through so much to have my children, but I also wanted to reclaim back part of myself in that process. And so it's that balance between not losing yourself in parenthood, because then you can be a better parent, but really honoring the beautiful gifts that you have in front of you. And I was very lucky to be able to be a stay-at-home mum, because I've got my own business, and really nurture them until they all went to school. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I'd still been living in the UK working in the corporate world. So everything worked out perfectly.
You know, one of the things that with my ex-wife, I was with her, but she didn't want kids, so I wouldn't marry her. And then slowly she turned around and did want kids. So I planned our honeymoon around her menstrual cycle. I'm crazy. Because that's such a gift, such a beautiful thing, that I planned everything, our honeymoon, according to her menstrual cycle, because I want, as soon as we got married, I'm like, okay, this is when we're going to do, you know, I planned everything, because I was one of those people that, and I still am, like I said, if I can have kids of my own, I would. I mean, don't get me wrong, my kids are mine, but it's not the same.
Yes.
It's not the same, that gift that you ladies have, which is beautiful. I mean, it is the most beautiful thing. And I was fortunate that I was able to be there when my kids were born. And on both occurrences, the doctor actually asked me to assist, because they were short a nurse, and they're like, "Can you do this?" I'm like, "Of course I can. I can help whatever you need." And are you afraid of blood? No, not at all. I'm looking at a miracle. To me, watching my kids being born was such a miracle. And you know, the thing that we forget is that miracle is always going to be there. Once that child comes out, we have to nurture it. And Celeste, you're absolutely 1,000% right. From 0 to 7 is so important. But then, you know, even if your kids are 30 years old, to me, they're still babies, you know, because I know they're not, Celeste. But
I have a 15-year-old stepson. Trust me, he's not a baby. He's
well, no, you know why? I'm going to tell you why you say that. Okay,
he's the king of Australia. So
wait. No, yes, teenagers, they know everything, right? But here's the thing: there's that connection, and you said my stepson. It's that connection that one could never have unless it's their own. You know. So yes, I agree with you. Teenagers, watch out. Watch
out. Don't fall into that trick.
They need guidance. They need guidance. You know, Sarah, I am looking at this beautiful book behind you, over your right shoulder. Tell us about your book.
I'll show you a close up even. Beautiful. So yeah, it's called Infertility Saved My Life. And the reason it's got a butterfly on is because it's about transformation, the journey that I went on through, the journey to self-love, basically. And it's also got sand because I'm very deeply connected to nature and the beach. So my book was basically birthed out of a desire to break the silent stigma and shame surrounding infertility and miscarriage and pregnancy loss. It's a subject that impacts so many people, yet we don't talk about it. So the first part of my book is my memoir, my story, what I went through to have my 3 beautiful children. And the second part of my book is all the tools, techniques, insight, and wisdom that I learned along the way. It's that whole kind of mind, body, spirit connection. It's really giving women tools to be able to support them on that journey. There's also a section in there for people who are supporting somebody through either miscarriage or infertility. So a list of things, 20 things not to say to somebody who's had a miscarriage and 20 things to say to somebody who's had a miscarriage. It's a subject that we don't know how to talk to each other about. And I really just want to provide that wisdom that I learned the hard way for other people, and take away some of that stress and help people feel less alone on that journey. It is such an isolating journey. It's filled with a lot of grief. And I didn't realize how much I was grieving until fairly recently, actually. Even just the writing of that book brought out a lot of grief. It was very cathartic, very healing. So I feel very blessed to have been able to secure a New York publisher for that last year, and to hopefully get that message out into the world in a big way.
You know, Celeste, one sec. I am intrigued by what you just said. You have questions that you may ask or may not ask. I would love to, if you can share one of each. So, because there is so much knowledge in what you just said. It's empathy, right? And then it's also understanding, right? So would you mind sharing one of each?
Absolutely. So anything that starts with at least, what follows after the at least is not positive. So at least it happened early if you've had a miscarriage. You know, at least it wasn't really a baby. At least you know you can get pregnant. At least you know that you can always adopt another child. You know, it's at least. And it really minimizes somebody's grief and their own emotions and what they're going through. So that's a big takeaway for me. And in terms of what you can say to somebody, it really is as simple as, I'm sorry for your loss. So you're acknowledging that they have lost something. It's not just that they've lost a baby. They've had this future. They've envisaged this future, and now it looks nothing like what they had seen it to be. So there's a grief for what they've lost, and there's a grief for the future that now is potentially playing out in a way that they didn't imagine. So I'm sorry for your loss. I'm here for you. It's very gentle, but it allows the other person just to feel seen and heard. And I was very blessed that when I had my very first miscarriage, and I had to go into hospital to have everything removed, and afterwards I was really upset. And I didn't feel that my emotions were even validated. For myself, I didn't feel like I should be upset because, you know, it was early in the pregnancy, but I had already seen that to be my baby. And the hospital chaplain came to speak to me, and she was the only person in my journey that really actually just said, I'm sorry you've lost your baby. And she phoned me about a week later to check up on me. And she said, I would love to hold a funeral service for you and your family. And we had that funeral service. It was a proper funeral service. I wasn't expecting that. It was the tiniest little coffin with baby Willoughby inscribed on a little plaque on the top, which my ex-husband carried down to the front of the crematorium, the front of the place we're having the service. And there was the whole funeral service was just gifted to us. And that allowed me to grieve. That allowed me to say goodbye and to let go. And a lot of women don't know to do that because they don't feel that their emotions are valid. So
we're talking about the subject of miscarriage. And I know, going back to where you say talking and healing, do you believe that, I know different cultures, but let's just talk about America and Australia for this episode. Is this still something that women keep in silence, and it shouldn't be like that anymore? We should be able to speak out about miscarriages and having funerals and acknowledging it was a life.
Yes. I think when, as a woman, for me, even though it was very early, I'd felt each baby that I lost inside me. I'd felt them moving around. And so to suddenly say that it didn't matter and it was just a group of cells was just crazy to me. It didn't make any sense. So there is a real need, from my perspective, to talk about it, to take away that silence, to take away that shame. When we shine a light on something, we take away the power that hold that it has over us. But the reason that we don't talk about it is because, it's from a medical perspective, don't say you're pregnant until you've had your 12-week scan. But actually, that's when you need those people around you the most, because if you then lose your baby before 12 weeks, nobody even knew you were pregnant to know why you're now upset and you can't talk about it. So I really feel that we should let each other in, because 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. 186 million people are living with infertility globally. 23 million miscarriages occur every single year worldwide. There's a lot of people impacted by that. There's the ripple effect of that is absolutely huge, because it's not just the couple that are going through. It's not just the woman, it's her partner, it's their children. If they've already got children, it's the potential grandparents that are impacted. It brings back up loss and grief for them. And that feeling of wanting to protect your own child, but not being able to take away that pain for them. The ripple effect is absolutely, you can't even measure it.
Yeah, it is crazy when you think about that.
And I love the fact that you wrote this beautiful book, and please, let us know how people can get to this book. I was just going to add this. It's got your email address. This is how people can pre-order your book, which is launching on the 6th of December. Is that correct?
Yes, 6th of December, and they can go to my website, which is sarahwilloughby.com.au, and I am very happy to send a signed author copy to you. You can order one there, or it's also available for pre-order through all the main online retailers, and it's also out now as an ebook. So lots of different ways to get hold of it.
And that really covers also this sensitive subject that we just spoke about, is also about miscarriages and the journey before, and IVF and all these things that are actually happening before of the mindset.
Yes. Yeah. It's a very raw, vulnerable share. It's some people a lot of people that have already read it, men included, have just been like, wow, I didn't know that women go through that. And my story is not unique. I know so many people that have done that journey tougher, for longer, and with even less support than I did.
You just mentioned the male people that read the book. And I really would like to emphasize to everyone that's listening to this episode, this is not an episode just for women. This is not a book just about women. As you said, when you have miscarriages or the preparations for pregnancy, it's 2 people. It's the male and the female energy. So what's your message maybe to the men today that are listening to this episode?
Can I jump in for a second?
Oh, you're so rude.
I am so rude. You're welcome.
What happens if we say no?
Because I know what, he is, as a male, I think there is no way we can understand. There is absolutely no way I can understand what a woman goes through, but I can have empathy. I can support. I can be there. I can listen, because a lot of people don't give the space to let someone grieve. We don't do that as men sometimes. And for me, I think that's the biggest thing that we can do as a man, as a person who can't give birth. You have to be there for your partner. You have to be there for your sister. You have to be there for your neighbor. We have to listen. We have to, and don't belittle what the experience was like. We need to be there, open and willing to understand only through what they're going through, because we fully cannot understand, because we didn't go through it and we're not able to. So I had to say that.
Thank you for sharing that. I think the other thing I want to acknowledge is you asked me what I would say to men who are going through this as well. And I actually just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that society often doesn't allow men to cry and grieve, The culture here in the culture here in Australia is very much suck it up. And when I first moved here, raising a son, that was very confronting for me. We've got a very high male suicide, 25 and under here. And I think a lot of that is because we're told, to repress our emotions, particularly men here in Australia. So I think men get forgotten about in this journey. It becomes very much about the woman. How's your wife? How's your partner? How are they doing? And we don't say, and how are you? So men do get forgotten about in this grief journey. And I really just want to shine a light on that too, that their emotions, their feelings, their grief, their sadness is all, it's all completely valid. And hopefully if it's, you're in a couple, you can support each other to hold space for each other, to go on that journey in your own way, but one that brings you back together rather than tearing you apart. Because all too often it does end up in relationship breakdowns. It becomes if one person's got the problem and not the other, then there's resentment and there's anger and there's frustration and there's feeling of, oh, they're going to leave me because this is something that I can't provide for them. And it just brings up a whole multitude of different emotions. But fundamentally, our hearts beat in the same way. We've all got grief. We've all got pain. And if we can really support each other through that process, then it can bring us closer together. And we can at some point find the light in that journey. And we can at some point find the good things that have come from those experiences, because life is about duality and nothing is either good or bad, as much as it hurts when we're going through it.
And they say that we women, we're the earth and the man is the seed. So it really is, we need that healthy, happy seed in our earth to grow something. And, again, epigenetics as well. There's so much beautiful science out there where it really shows the mental health of a child, where both parents were lovingly and with the same attitude, the same intentions, the same love, that child was conceived. Would you like to say anything about epigenetics as well?
I think for me, I could talk about, intergenerational trauma and all the stuff that we carry with us that we're not even aware of. So I think that we need to hold grace and space for ourselves to be on this journey to make mistakes and to not always get it right, and to try every day to wake up with the intention every single day of being the best version of ourselves, so that we can be the best parent that we can be. And that we can therefore provide that really healthy space, as you said, Celeste, between 0 and 7, to be able to give our children the best possible chance to be their best version and to go on and live the happiest, healthy life that they can. But we do need to be gentle with ourselves in that process, because there is so much going on and so much that we still don't understand about that whole journey.
And is that also with all your beautiful different workshops that I saw on your website? This is also for men, right? You're inviting couples, you're inviting men, fathers to be. How exciting. So it's not just for mothers, isn't it? It's also fathers can connect with you.
Yes, absolutely. So in terms of how I work with people, I offer infertility coaching, and those sessions can be purely working with the women. They can be working with the woman in one session and then the man in the other session, or it can be women and women, and depending on what relationships people are in. And also we can do joint sessions. So it really is about whatever that couple needs or that individual needs and where they're at. So I tailor everything to the people that I'm working with. The structure is there, but it's very much tailored. And I work from a place of my intuitive guidance too. So I might go into a session and think that we're going to work on one thing, and then something is said and I'm like, intuitive guided, we need to heal that. We need to go into that deeper. So it's a combination of meditation, energy healing, automatic writing, journaling, talking, all sorts of different things, sessions at the beach, releasing, letting go, holding space for if somebody's already had a miscarriage or loss, letting go ceremonies to really honor the life that was so loved but is unfortunately not here. So it's a really beautiful way to just, and if nothing else, even if you do not ever get to a place of being able to hold a baby in your arms, the work that you can do on yourself in that space and in that process is so important. It really is. So I feel very blessed to be able to do this work. And then I also work as a transformation coach and work with people one-on-one in that space. Similar work, but different end results often, and also provide distant healing as well, and in-person Reiki, which I love.
Oh, yeah. You talk about transformation, and it's almost like, if you think about, what was that movie with the cocoon where they became young again? Remember? Celeste, you're like, I want to become young again. You are young, Celeste.
I'm like, I'll watch that movie. I'll give myself any time for that.
You're very young lady. So it's what we have inside of us that we can transform, right? It's that gift that we're all have inside of us. And you talked about, if you haven't been able to hold a baby, if you are not able to ever have children, or you choose not to. I know some people personally who have chosen not to have kids because that's not how they see themselves, and that's okay. But if you don't ever get the chance, you can always help out, right? You can volunteer. You can, there's so many children out there who don't have parents. Maybe they lost their parents at an early age, or unfortunately their parents gave them up. But there are so many homeless shelters. There's so many places that you can go and volunteer your time to help someone to elevate themselves, to transform their lives, because maybe they had it rough, and we can make a difference. But it's that transformation you need in yourself, right? And I know that, Sarah, that's what you do. You help someone find the beauty that we all have inside, right?
Yeah, I really help people to see what I see when they walk through the door, of really connecting with their soul for the first time. And when somebody can look themselves in the eyes and say, I love you, because most of my clients don't love themselves. When we get to that space of them really, truly seeing each other for the first time, of seeing and feeling who they really are, it's priceless. It's priceless, because that's when they really connect with their own truth, and they really know then, I've got everything I need inside me, like you've just said. The answers are all deep inside. It's just there's so much noise going on often that we can't reach that. And then when we can connect so deeply with self, then that's when we notice all the synchronicities that just naturally play out in life, and that life isn't so hard. It goes into flow. We're not pushing, we're not grasping, we're not reaching, we're just being. And then things naturally come to us. But it is a lot of patience, and it's a lot of trust, and it's a journey. But I believe when we get on that journey, like, we can't get off. Sometimes I want to, sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm done. But it is life-changing. It's life-changing. And I feel lucky to have been able to do this work for me, and to now be able to sit with my 16, almost 17-year-old son and have these conversations and say, geez, I wish that I had somebody to talk to me about this stuff when I was 17, because it is life-changing.
It is. It is. Impacting our future is through our children. And if we don't have children, it's through the children that are around us, right?
Around us.
So for me, and Celeste, you talked about the 15-year-old stepson, but they need guidance. Because here's the thing. I remember when I was 15, I knew everything, didn't I? Do you remember when you were 15? You thought you know everything. These adults know nothing, right?
I'm on a live broadcast. I will not talk about what kind of person I was as a teenager, right? So I have 8, a 13, and a 15-year-old at home, and my parents always look at me, go, so this is what it feels like, Celeste. You know,
It's coming back.
I did
It's
that for
coming
you.
back.
No, that's not true.
But you know what? Every one of us, and sometimes, you know, they can be 23, 27, and they still need guidance. I know people in their 50s who need guidance. It doesn't matter. You know, when we can share, and I love the way you said it, Sarah, when you said when they walk in, you see the beauty that they're missing. You see how beautiful a person is. Because to me, and a lot of people say, my God, you love everybody. And it's true. This is why I'm here, because everybody is beautiful. Every one of us was that beautiful, smiling baby that it just tell me that a baby's laugh is not contagious. Tell me that a baby's smile is not contagious, right? All these things, they keep transferring over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden you have a 30-year-old in front of you. And then you're like, why are you doing these things? But remember, they still need guidance, just like that baby did.
Absolutely. I think we all need guidance, don't we? You know, I work with a coach, and I will always work with a coach till I take my last breath, because I believe that we are all students and we're all teachers, and we've all got so much to learn about ourselves and about each other. And when we prepare to do that work on ourselves, that's when we can change the world. It all starts with us.
Yeah, it definitely
also,
does.
Sarah, for all the full-time aunties, the full-time,
Yes.
you know, we sometimes just speak about the mother and the father, or this, this awful description of stepmother. I've never seen myself as a stepmother. I'm a mentor, and I'm their father's partner. You know, so there's different psychological angles. So with your workshops and your books and your counseling, is this also for people that are mentors and the aunties and the full-time babysitters and basically the community around the children? So you are a caretaker.
Look, I think it's certainly within my book, there's definitely something for everybody to take away. People who are not even interested in having children, or have said that there is something in there for everybody in terms of the personal realizations that they've had. In terms of the work that I do with people, if somebody is an aunt and wants to come and work with me to understand how they can best support somebody else, absolutely. You know, my heart is open to working with anybody who wants to, you know, show up for themselves and other people. So yeah, it's very, very, very powerful. Yeah.
I want to take a second and you know, just let everybody know about Celeste. She is just an amazing person. You got to connect with my co-host. I am so fortunate that, you know, we kind of connected. This crazy chemistry that reaches across the world, and we said we have to do the Seer Show together, right? So Celeste, thank you so much for being you. Thank you for all that you do and all the research that you do for the show and everything that you're always bringing forth. And you do show your love all the time. And you know I'm crazy, but I think you're crazy too. So that's why.
It takes craziness to also or have the bravery to reach out to people and go, you know what? I love your story. I love what you're doing for other people. I want to spotlight you. I want to give you the broadcast, because I believe with today with Sarah, we're sharing knowledge. We're sharing true stories, true life stories. And that's, I think, why the Seer Show is becoming more and more popular, because we are talking about raw, rough, real lives, emotions, and yeah, we speak the truth, and we've got fantastic guest speakers on, like Sarah. And I really wanted to also say to Sarah, I'm so grateful for you that you did that transformation. You went out of the corporate world, and you are so open and honest to go, this is my story.
Yeah,
Thank
without a
you.
doubt.
And yeah, thank you for holding space for me to share my story and for inviting me on to be a guest. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I've learned a lot from both of you, and I've enjoyed listening to some of the previous episodes. So thank you for everything you're both doing.
It's a pleasure. You know, you talk about transformation, and it's so important to people to understand that transformation has so many different facets, right? So one of the things that I am doing for 2023 is I am helping people transform their lives. If anybody's interested, I'm talking about transforming their lives through physical aspects, like working out through your health. And this is something that we look at Celeste's arm. Show me those guns again, girl. So one of the things that if you're interested in a 7-week, 7 days a week, total of 49 days to work out with me personally, just reach out. It's bit.ly/7x7 transform. I look forward to those people who want to make that difference in their life. But if you're looking for a deeper transformation, obviously you're going to reach out to Sarah. Not only are you going to get her book, you're going to make the rest of this year a beginning to what next year is going to be. Continue living in this year, right? Don't live in the future because we can't, but you got to live in the moment. This is your moment. This is your time to transform your life. Listen, if you're into bad habits, if you're a smoker, if you drink too often, if you overeat, if you do anything that's negative and you're like, I don't know, I'm not feeling that great. It's time.
It's time, the
It's time.
present, it's time today, and I think that's a very big one, which I liked also with Sarah, looking through your workshops. And I think one of your quotes was actually, life begins right now, you've got this. Now, you've got this is very Aussie, and you've got this. So for all the Americans to understand, it's very Australian, but I love it. And I actually love how we Australians say, you've got this, it's today. Today is just another day for the little improvements.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing before we go, I just want to share with everybody that we are still looking for sponsors. Anybody who's interested in sponsoring the show, but we are looking for someone who is who cares for other people and who cares for our planet. So we're not looking for anybody who is in it for themselves, but is in it for others. Those are the kind of sponsors we're looking for. So what can I say, Sarah? This has been, you've taught me so much.
Yeah.
And you guys know how I feel about babies, right?
Yeah,
So cute.
Thank you so much. Anybody who is interested in always learning more about Sarah, check her out. She's an amazing individual. Obviously, Celeste, you got to go check her out too. And if you're interested in anything I'm doing, check us out. Here's the thing. Connections is what brings this big world closer together.
Communities.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Day. Everybody enjoy. We'll see you next week.
Oh, yes. Bye.
Bye.
Guys, you can be loud now.